morning fog rolled thick over Naval Base Coronado, turning the palm trees into gray shadows and muffling the sound of boots on pavement. It was 0600 hours and the base was waking up to another day of precision, protocol and pride. But inside the base commissary, there was no pride in the way they looked at her. Maya Collins stood behind the register, scanning groceries with steady hands that had once steadied rifles in places most Americans couldn't find on a map. She wore a simple blue vest over a white shirt. No uniform, no insignia, no rank. To the young sailors passing through her checkout line, she was invisible. To the officers' wives who complained about bagging their organic produce wrong, she was just help. To the base commander's secretary who snapped her fingers for faster service, she was nobody, and Maya never corrected them. She just smiled quietly, scanned the items and said, "Have a nice day." But her eyes told a different story. They were the eyes of someone who had seen things, done things, survived things that would break most people in half. She was 41 years old. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her face showed the kind of weathered beauty that comes from years under the sun in deserts and mountains far from home. There were faint scars along her left forearm, mostly hidden under her sleeve. No one asked about them. No one asked about anything. "Excuse me." A sharp voice cut through her thoughts. "Are you even listening?" Maya blinked and focused on the woman in front of her. Lieutenant Commander Wilson's wife. Blonde hair, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, yoga pants that probably cost more than Maya made in a week. "I said I have a coupon," the woman repeated, waving a piece of paper impatiently. "Do you understand English?" Maya took the coupon without a word and scanned it. The register beeped. "Expired," Maya said gently. "It's dated from last month." The woman's face flushed red. "Well, that's ridiculous. Your manager should honor it anyway." "Do you know who my husband is?" Maya did know. She knew exactly who Lieutenant Commander Richard Wilson was. She'd seen his service record. Desk assignments, logistics coordination. A good officer, but he'd never seen combat. Never had to make the kind of decisions that left marks on your soul. "I can call the manager if you'd like," Maya offered quietly. "Never mind," the woman huffed, snatching her bags. "It's just like the military to hire people who can't even handle a simple transaction." She left in a cloud of expensive perfume. The sailor behind her in line, a young kid who couldn't have been more than 19, gave Maya an apologetic shrug. "Sorry about that, ma'am." "It's fine," Maya said, and meant it. She'd faced worse than entitled shoppers, much worse. The day crawled forward like all the others. Scan, bag, smile, repeat. During her lunch break, Maya sat alone in her old Honda Civic in the parking lot, eating a sandwich she'd made at home. She didn't go to the break room anymore. The chatter there made her feel more alone than solitude ever could. Through the windshield, she watched young Marines jogging in formation, their cadence calls echoing across the asphalt. She felt the old pull in her chest, the muscle memory of a life she'd left behind, or a life that had left her. Her phone buzzed. A text from her daughter Lily. "Mom, can you pick up milk on the way home? Also, career day is Friday. Are you still coming?" Maya stared at the message. Career day? She'd promised Lily she'd come, but what was she supposed to say? Stand in front of a classroom of fifth graders and tell them she worked a cash register now? She typed back, "I'll be there. Love you." She didn't mention the milk. She'd remember. She always remembered the important things. That afternoon, everything changed. It started with a phone call to the store manager's office. Maya was called back during the middle of the dinner rush, leaving her register to a confused teenage bagger. The manager, Mr. Hendricks, was a retired master chief who ran the commissary like it was still a ship. He was fair but firm, and he'd always treated Maya with quiet respect. But today his face was pale. "Maya, sit down," he said. She sat, her pulse steady. Years of training kept her calm even when her instincts screamed that something was wrong. "There's been a request," Hendricks said slowly, "from the base commander's office. They want you to report to the main administration building tomorrow at 0800. Maya's stomach tightened. "Did they say why?" "No." Hendricks folded his hands on the desk. But the call came from the Admiral's aide directly. "Admiral, there was only one Admiral on this base. Rear Admiral James Kovich, the man who commanded the entire Naval Special Warfare Command on the West Coast. SEALs, SWCC, support operations, everything. He was a legend. a man who'd spent 30 years in the teams before taking command. He was also a man Maya had never met, never even been in the same building with. "Do you have any idea what this is about?" Hendricks asked carefully. Maya shook her head. But her mind was already racing through possibilities, each one worse than the last. Had someone found out? Had her past finally caught up with her? "You're not in trouble, are you?" Hendricks asked, concern creasing his weathered face. "I don't think so," Maya said. But her voice was thinner than she wanted it to be. "Well, whatever it is, you show up on time and squared away," Hendricks said. "You're one of the best workers I've got. I don't want to lose you." Maya nodded and stood. Her legs felt strange, like they belonged to someone else. She finished her shift on autopilot, her mind 1,000 miles away. That night, Maya stood in her small apartment staring at the closet. Lily was at her friend's house for a sleepover, so the place was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic on the highway. In the back of the closet, behind the winter coats and old boxes, was a duffel bag she hadn't opened in 3 years. Maya pulled it out and set it on the bed. The zipper stuck, then gave way. Inside were pieces of a life she'd carefully folded away. A tan t-shirt washed so many times it was soft as silk. Patches from units she couldn't talk about. A photograph of 12 people in desert camouflage, faces sunburned and smiling, weapons slung casual over shoulders. Most of them were men, but there were 2 other women in the photo. One of them was Maya, 10 years younger, 20 pounds lighter, eyes bright with purpose. The other woman was Captain Sarah Chen, her best friend. Sarah was dead now. They were all dead now. Everyone in that photograph except Maya. She touched Sarah's face through the plastic sleeve protecting the photo, her finger trembling slightly. "I don't know what this is about," Maya whispered to the empty room. "But if they're digging into the past..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Instead, she carefully repacked the bag, zipped it up, and shoved it back into the closet. Then she sat on the edge of her bed and did something she hadn't done in a long time. She let herself remember. Afghanistan, 2011. The mission that ended everything. The mission that was still classified. The mission that took her team and left her with nothing but scars, nightmares, and an honorable discharge that felt anything but honorable. Maya had been a staff sergeant then, assigned to a cultural support team attached to a SEAL unit. Her job was to interact with Afghan women and children during operations, to gather intelligence and provide security in situations where male soldiers couldn't go. But that last mission had gone sideways in ways no one could have predicted, and when the dust settled and the casualty reports were filed, Maya had been given a choice: take the discharge and the silence, or fight it and risk exposure of operations that could never see daylight. She'd chosen silence. She'd chosen Lily, who was 8 years old at the time and had already lost her father to a training accident 2 years before. She'd chosen survival over honor, and she'd lived with that choice every single day since. Maya lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling, and wondered if tomorrow would be the day it all came crashing down. Outside, the fog rolled in from the ocean, thick and cold and unforgiving. Maya didn't sleep. She lay in bed watching the ceiling fan rotate slowly, her mind cycling through scenarios like a tactical briefing. At 0400 she gave up and went for a run through her neighborhood, pushing her body hard through the empty streets until her lungs burned and her legs screamed. The pain helped. It always did. By 0630 she was showered and standing in front of her closet again, trying to decide what to wear to meet an admiral when you had no rank and no right to be in his office. She settled on simple black pants and a pressed white blouse. Professional but not pretentious. The kind of outfit that wouldn't draw attention either way. As she buttoned the blouse, her fingers brushed against the scar on her collarbone. A thin white line, barely visible now, but she felt it every time like it had happened yesterday. The bullet had missed her carotid artery by less than an inch. She'd kept fighting anyway. That was what they'd trained her to do. Maya made coffee she didn't drink and checked her phone obsessively. Nothing from the base. Nothing explaining why she'd been summoned. At 0720 she kissed Lily goodbye. Her daughter was eating cereal at their small kitchen table, still in pajamas. hair messy from sleep. "You look fancy, Mom," Lily said, milk dripping from her spoon. "Hot date?" Maya smiled despite the knot in her stomach. "Just a meeting." Boring. Lily went back to her cereal and her phone. 11 years old and already fluent in pre-teen indifference. "I love you," Maya said. "Love you too," Lily replied without looking up. Maya stood there for a moment longer than necessary, memorizing the scene. The morning light coming through their small kitchen window. The sound of her daughter chewing. The absolute ordinary beauty of a peaceful moment, just in case everything was about to change. Naval Base Coronado's main administration building was an imposing 3-story structure that looked exactly like what it was. A place where decisions got made and careers got shaped. Maya had driven past it 1,000 times on her way to the commissary. She'd never been inside. Security at the entrance checked her ID twice. The young sailor at the desk looked confused when he saw she had no military affiliation listed, just a dependent ID card from her late husband's service. "You're here to see Admiral Kovich?" he asked, like he must have misheard. "That's what I was told," Maya said evenly. He made a phone call, spoke quietly, then hung up, looking even more confused. "Third floor, room 304. Someone will meet you at the elevator." Maya thanked him and walked through the metal detector. Her heart was pounding now, but her face showed nothing. She'd learned long ago how to keep fear locked away where it couldn't betray her. The elevator ride felt like it took hours when the doors opened on the 3rd floor. A young female officer was waiting, a lieutenant, crisp and professional in her service dress blues. "Ms. Collins?" the lieutenant asked. "Yes." "This way, please." They walked down a corridor lined with photographs of ships and submarines, ceremonies and change of command events. The walls practically radiated history and tradition. Maya felt like an imposter in her civilian clothes. The lieutenant stopped at a conference room, not an office. "Please wait here. The Admiral will be with you shortly." Then she was gone, and Maya was alone. The conference room was intimidating in its simplicity. A long polished table, 12 leather chairs, an American flag in the corner, photos on the wall of SEAL teams throughout history, frogmen in black and white transitioning to modern color photos of operators in desert tan and tactical gear. Maya recognized some of the faces. Some of them were dead now, too. She sat down in a chair halfway down the table, not at the head but not at the foot either. A compromise position. She folded her hands in her lap and waited, controlling her breathing the way she'd been taught. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 4 counts each. The door opened. But it wasn't the Admiral. It was a man in his early 50s, wearing khakis and a polo shirt with a contractor logo. He had the bearing of former military, and his eyes did a quick tactical assessment of the room and Maya in about 2 seconds. "Ms. Collins," he said. "I'm David Reeves. I work for SOCOM's Historical Documentation Division." He didn't offer to shake hands. Neither did Maya. "I'm going to record this conversation," Reeves continued, setting a small digital recorder on the table. "For documentation purposes, do you consent?" Maya's throat went dry. "Am I under investigation?" "No," Reeves said, but his tone was careful. "This is voluntary. You can leave at any time, but we're hoping you'll help us with something." "Help you with what?" Reeves sat down across from her. "Operation Copper Valley, Afghanistan, October 2011. The air left Maya's lungs. That was the mission, the one that killed her team, the one she'd been ordered never to discuss. I was told that operation was classified," Maya said quietly. "I signed documents, NDAs, agreements that I would never—" "Those documents still stand," Reeves interrupted. "But circumstances have changed. 3 days ago, a group of Taliban fighters released a video. They're claiming they captured an American female soldier during a raid in 2011 and held her for 3 weeks before she escaped." Maya's hands clenched in her lap. "We know it's not true," Reeves said firmly. "But they're using it for propaganda. They've got news agencies picking it up. Congressional inquiries are being filed, and we need to set the record straight without compromising operational security." How? Maya's voice came out hoarse. By declassifying parts of Operation Copper Valley. By telling the real story. Reeves leaned forward. By honoring what you and your team actually did that day. Maya closed her eyes. She didn't want this. Didn't want to relive it. Didn't want her daughter to know what she'd done, what she'd seen, what she'd lost. I can't, she whispered. You can, a new voice said from the doorway. Maya's eyes snapped open. Admiral James Kovich stood in the entrance to the conference room. He was a tall man, 60 years old, but still carrying himself like he could ruck 20 miles with a full pack. His uniform was perfect. His ribbons told a story of 3 decades of service in the most dangerous corners of the world. And he was, looking at Maya like she was the most important person in the room. Ms. Collins, the Admiral said, thank you for coming. Maya stood automatically, muscle memory bringing her to attention even though she had no rank to honor. Sir, she managed. The Admiral walked to the table but didn't sit. What Mr. Reeves is trying to explain, and doing poorly, is that we need your help. But more than that, we owe you something that's 3 years overdue. Sir, I don't understand. Your team saved 63 lives that day, the Admiral said. 63 Afghan civilians, including 42 children, who would have been executed if you hadn't intervened. Your actions were heroic. Your sacrifice was real. And the only reason you're working a cash register instead of being honored for what you did is because we asked you to stay silent. Tears burned at the corners of Maya's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Staff Sergeant Chen died doing her duty, Maya said, her voice breaking slightly on her friend's name. The rest of the team died doing theirs. I just survived. You did more than survive, the Admiral said. You carried 2 wounded teammates 4 miles through enemy territory. You held off an assault force for 3 hours until extraction arrived. You refused to leave anyone behind even when it would have been tactically sound to do so. I was following orders, sir. No, the Admiral said quietly. You were following your heart, and that's why I'm here. He nodded to Reeves, who pulled a folder from his briefcase and slid it across the table to Maya. Open it, the Admiral said. Maya's hands shook as she opened the folder. Inside was a single-page document with Department of Defense letterhead, and as she read it, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. It was a citation. For the Silver Star. For valor in combat. For actions during Operation Copper Valley. Her name was on it. Staff Sergeant Maya Collins. This was approved 2 years ago, the Admiral explained. But it's been sitting in classified archives because the operation was sealed. Now we're going to unseal enough of the record to present this to you properly, with the honor and ceremony you deserve. Maya couldn't speak. Her throat had closed completely. There's more, Reeves added, pulling out another document. We've contacted the families of your team members. They're going to receive their recognition as well, posthumously. Sarah's face flashed through Maya's mind, her laugh, her courage. Her final words over the radio. Get them out, Maya, no matter what, get them out. Why now? Maya finally asked. Why after all this time? The Admiral's expression hardened. Because I'm tired of bureaucrats deciding that politics is more important than honor. Because your daughter deserves to know what kind of hero her mother is. And because when I learned that a Silver Star recipient was working in my commissary, while being treated like she was invisible, I decided enough was enough. He straightened to his full height. This base has had a Medal of Honor recipient, 3 Navy Crosses, and 27 Silver Stars walk through its gates. And every single one of them got the respect they earned. You're going to get yours too. Maya looked down at the citation, at her name in official print, and felt something break open inside her chest. 3 years of silence. 3 years of pretending. 3 years of being invisible. All of it crashing down at once. When? She whispered. Friday, the Admiral said. Full ceremony, dress blues, press coverage, the works. Friday. Career day at Lily's school. Maya started to laugh, then cry, then both at once. The Admiral waited patiently while she composed herself. When she could finally speak again, Maya looked up at him and asked the question that had been burning in her mind since this started. Sir, how did you find out? About me working here? For the first time, the Admiral smiled. That, he said, is a story for another time. But let's just say someone who served with your husband made sure I knew exactly who was scanning groceries in Building 274. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of phone calls, interviews, and paperwork that Maya had to sign in triplicate. The declassification process moved with surprising speed, guided by Admiral Kovich's direct involvement and what Reeves called executive pressure from the top. Apparently, when a SOCOM admiral decided something needed to happen, it happened. Maya went to work at the commissary on Wednesday like normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. She scanned groceries with hands that trembled slightly. She smiled at customers who had no idea that in 2 days, everything would change. Mr. Hendricks knew something was happening. He kept giving her curious looks but didn't ask questions. He'd been in the Navy long enough to recognize when something was above his pay grade. On Thursday afternoon, a staff car pulled up to the commissary. The same young lieutenant who'd met Maya at the elevator stepped out, carrying a garment bag. "Ms. Collins," she said, finding Maya at Register 3. "I need you to come with me for a fitting." The customers in line stared as Maya removed her apron and followed the lieutenant outside. In the car, the lieutenant introduced herself properly. "I'm Lieutenant Sarah Morrison. I've been assigned as your escort officer for the ceremony." "Escort officer?" Maya repeated. "Standard protocol for medal ceremonies," Morrison explained as she drove across the base. "Someone needs to make sure you know where to stand, when to salute, and how the whole thing works. Usually it's an officer of equal or higher rank, but—" She trailed off delicately. "But I don't have a rank anymore," Maya finished. "You have a silver star," Morrison said firmly. "That's better than rank." They pulled up to the base uniform shop. Inside, a petty officer was waiting with a dress blue uniform in Maya's size. "How did you know my measurements?" Maya asked, bewildered. Morrison smiled. "The Admiral's office is very thorough. The uniform fit perfectly." Maya stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized herself. She hadn't worn dress blues in 3 years, and the last time, she'd been 20 pounds lighter and carrying the weight of fresh grief. Now looking at her reflection, she saw something different. She saw a survivor. She saw a fighter. She saw someone who'd earned the right to wear this uniform, even if she'd forgotten it for a while. "You look good." "Staff Sergeant," Morrison said quietly. Maya's eyes snapped to the lieutenant's face. "I'm not—" "You are," Morrison interrupted. "The discharge you took was administrative, not punitive. Your rank is still technically yours. You just haven't been on active duty." She paused. "The Admiral wanted me to tell you that if you ever want to come back, there are positions available. Instructor roles. Consulting work. You have experience that the teams need." Maya touched the silver star insignia that would be pinned to her chest in 24 hours. "I have a daughter." "I know," Morrison said. "And she's going to be very proud." That night, Maya sat Lily down in their small living room and tried to explain what was about to happen. "You know how you asked me to come to career day tomorrow?" Maya started. Lily looked up from her phone. "Yeah, you're still coming, right?" "I am. But something else is happening tomorrow, too. Something big." Lily set down her phone, suddenly attentive. At 11, she could read her mother's tone better than most adults. "Mom, what's going on?" "You're scaring me." Maya took a breath. "Before you were born and right after your dad died, I was in the army. I've told you that part." "You were a soldier," Lily said. "I know. I was more than just a soldier. I was part of a special team. We did missions that were dangerous and important, and most of them I still can't talk about." Lily's eyes went wide. "Like secret missions?" "Sort of like that." Maya pulled out her phone and showed Lily a photo that Reeves had declassified for her. The one of her team in Afghanistan, young and strong and alive. "This was my team. These were my friends." Lily studied the photo. "You look so different." "I was different. I was doing work that I believed in, work that mattered." Maya's voice caught. "But on one mission, things went wrong. Most of my team died. I survived, but I was hurt. And the mission was classified, which meant I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't tell anyone what happened or why. Not even me?" Lily asked softly. "Not even you, baby." "I'm sorry." Lily was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, "Is that why you work at the store? Because you can't be a soldier anymore?" Maya felt tears sting her eyes. "Partly, but mostly I chose to leave because I wanted to be here for you. You'd already lost your dad. I didn't want you to lose me too." "But you were sad," Lily said. "And it wasn't a question. You've been sad for a long time. children saw everything. Maya had forgotten that. Yes, she admitted. I've been sad. Because I missed my team, and because I felt like I'd failed them. Did you fail them? No, Maya said, and for the first time she actually believed it. I did everything I could to save them. I just couldn't save everyone. Lily scooted closer on the couch and took her mother's hand. Her fingers were small but strong. So what's happening tomorrow? Tomorrow the Navy is giving me a medal. It's called the Silver Star. It's for what I did on that mission. They're having a big ceremony with lots of important people. Maya squeezed her daughter's hand. And I want you to be there. A medal? Lily's face lit up. Like a real hero medal? Like a real hero medal, Maya confirmed, her voice thick with emotion. Lily threw her arms around her mother's neck. Mom, that's amazing. Why didn't you tell me before? Because I only found out this week. And because I've been scared. Scared of what? Maya pulled back to look at her daughter's face. Scared that you'd see me differently. Scared that you'd know the things I've done. Scared that I'm not the person you think I am. Lily's expression turned serious, older than her 11 years. Mom, I think you're the strongest person I know. And now everyone else is going to know it too. Maya broke down then, pulling her daughter close and crying in a way she hadn't allowed herself to cry in years. Lily held her and didn't ask questions, just offered the simple comfort of presence. When Maya finally composed herself, Lily pulled back with a thoughtful expression. So about career day, she said. Can I tell everyone my mom is a war hero? Maya laughed, surprised the sound could come out of her after all those tears. Let's just say your mom is a veteran who did her job. That's boring, Lily protested. You're getting a silver star. That's not boring. We'll find a way to make it interesting, Maya promised, without making it all about me. But it is all about you tomorrow, Lily insisted. For once, Mom, just let it be about you. Friday morning arrived with brilliant California sunshine and a clarity of sky that seemed designed for important moments. Maya woke at 500 from pure habit, her mind already racing through what was ahead. The ceremony was scheduled for 1100 hours at the base parade ground. Career day at Lily's school started at 0900. Lieutenant Morrison had worked out the logistics. Maya would speak to Lily's class for 30 minutes. Then they'd drive together to the base. Lily had been given special permission to attend the ceremony, and Morrison had arranged for a seat in the front row. Maya put on the dress blue uniform slowly, each piece carrying weight beyond its physical presence. The brass buttons, the ribbons, the empty space on her chest where the silver star would be pinned. When she emerged from her bedroom, Lily was already up and dressed in her best outfit, a navy blue dress that she usually complained about wearing. You look beautiful, Maya said. You look like a superhero, Lily replied. They drove to the school together as the morning sun climbed higher. Maya's hands were steady on the wheel, but her heart was pounding. She'd faced enemy fire with less nervousness than she felt about talking to a classroom of fifth graders. The school was a typical California elementary school. Low buildings painted cheerful colors, playground equipment bright against the morning sky. Maya had been here dozens of times for parent-teacher conferences and school events, but she'd never walked through the doors in her dress blues. The reaction was immediate. Parents in the hallway stopped and stared. A teacher Maya recognized from back-to-school night actually saluted, then looked embarrassed when Maya didn't know how to respond. You can salute back, Lily whispered. That's allowed, right? Maya smiled and returned the salute, feeling awkward but touched. Lily's teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, met them at the classroom door. She was a young woman, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. Mrs. Collins, thank you so much for coming. Lily told me yesterday about your ceremony today. Congratulations. Thank you, Maya said. We're honored to have you. Please come in. The classroom erupted in whispers when Maya entered. 25 fifth graders, their eyes going wide at the uniform, the ribbons, the whole presence of military formality in their everyday space. Lily beamed with pride from her desk in the second row. Ms. Rodriguez called for quiet. Class, this is Lily's mom, Mrs. Collins. She's going to talk to us about her career in the military. Please give her your attention and respect. Maya stood at the front of the classroom and looked out at the young faces. They were so innocent, so untouched by the world she'd lived in. For a moment she didn't know what to say. Then she saw a boy in the back raise his hand. Yes, Maya said. Are you a Navy SEAL? He asked excitedly. No, Maya said. I was in the Army, but I worked with SEALs sometimes. Another hand shot up, a girl with glasses and braids. Did you ever fight bad guys? Maya paused. How do you explain? Combat to children. I was part of a team that helped protect people, she said carefully. Sometimes that meant being in dangerous places. Sometimes it meant standing between people who needed help and people who wanted to hurt them. Did you shoot guns? Another boy asked. I was trained to use weapons, yes. But being a soldier isn't just about weapons. It's about teamwork, discipline, and taking care of the people next to you. A quiet girl in the front row raised her hand tentatively. Were you scared? Maya met her eyes. Yes, I was scared a lot of the time. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what needs to be done even when you are scared. My dad says girls shouldn't be soldiers, a boy said from the middle row. The classroom went silent. Maya saw Lily's face flush with anger, ready to defend her mother. But Maya just smiled. Your dad is entitled to his opinion, she said calmly. But I've served with women who were stronger, smarter, and braver than most men I know. And today, the Navy is giving me a medal called the Silver Star for actions in combat. It's one of the highest honors a soldier can receive. She let that sink in for a moment. Being a good soldier or a good anything isn't about whether you're a boy or a girl. It's about whether you have the courage to do what's right, the strength to help others, and the discipline to never give up. The boy looked down at his desk, properly chastened. Maya spent the next 20 minutes talking about teamwork, about service, about the importance of education and physical fitness. She kept it age-appropriate, kept it inspiring, kept it real without being traumatic. And when she finished, every single student applauded. Lily's face was glowing with pride. As Maya prepared to leave, the quiet girl from the front row approached shyly. Mrs. Collins, she said, when I grow up, I want to be like you. Maya knelt down to the girl's level. Then work hard, be kind, and never let anyone tell you what you can't do. The girl nodded solemnly and went back to her seat. Outside the classroom, Ms. Rodriguez walked Maya to the exit. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Maya said. Can I ask you something? Ms. Rodriguez hesitated. That boy who said girls shouldn't be soldiers? His father is very traditional. I worry about how he talks to his son. What you said to that little girl at the end was perfect. Maya glanced back toward the classroom. I spent years being invisible because I thought it was easier. I'm done with that now. Good, Ms. Rodriguez said firmly. The world needs to see women like you. Lieutenant Morrison was waiting in the parking lot in the staff car, engine running. She stepped out when she saw Maya and Lily approaching. Right on time, Morrison said, checking her watch. We need to move. The Admiral doesn't like to be kept waiting. The drive back to the base took 15 minutes through midday traffic. Lily pressed her face to the window, watching the ocean blur past, asking 100 questions that Maya answered as calmly as she could, while her stomach twisted itself into knots. Will there be a lot of people? Lily asked. Probably, Maya said. Will you have to give a speech? I hope not. Will there be news cameras? Morrison glanced in the rearview mirror. Yes, this is being covered by local news and military media. The Admiral's office sent out a press release yesterday. Maya's hands clenched in her lap. She'd faced firefights with less anxiety than the thought of cameras and reporters. Mom, Lily said quietly, squeezing her mother's hand. You've got this. Maya looked at her daughter and felt a surge of love so powerful it almost hurt. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart, Lily said with an 11-year-old's confidence. You just don't always notice. The base was more crowded than usual. As they approached the parade ground, Maya could see people gathering. Sailors in dress whites, Marines in their blues, officers in service dress, civilians in suits, and reporters. At least 3 news vans parked along the periphery. Oh God, Maya whispered. Morrison pulled the car to a designated spot near the reviewing stand. Deep breath, Staff Sergeant. You've done harder things than this. I've been shot at with less people watching. Yes, but nobody's shooting at you today. Morrison opened her door. "Come on, let's get you checked in." They walked across the parade ground, Lily holding tight to Maya's hand. People were staring, but it was different from the stares at the commissary. These weren't looks of dismissal or contempt. These were looks of respect. A Marine gunnery sergeant, his chest covered in ribbons from multiple deployments, nodded as they passed. "Congratulations, Staff Sergeant," Maya managed to nod back. Morrison led them to a small tent where other ceremony participants were gathering. David Reeves was there, along with several officers Maya didn't recognize. And then she saw faces she did recognize. 3 men in their 50s and 60s, wearing suit jackets covered in pins and patches from various units. They had the weathered look of combat veterans, the kind of men who'd seen things that aged them beyond their years. One of them stepped forward, tears already streaming down his face. "Maya," he said, his voice breaking. It was John Chen, Sarah's father. Maya felt her own tears start before she could stop them. "Mr. Chen, He pulled her into a fierce hug. "My daughter loved you like a sister. She wrote about you in every letter. And what you did to try to save her, what you did to save all of them." He couldn't finish. Maya hugged him back, years of grief pouring out of both of them. The other 2 men approached. Maya recognized them from photos as family members of her fallen teammates. They each embraced her, no words necessary, just the shared understanding of loss and sacrifice. Lily watched with wide eyes, beginning to understand the depth of what her mother had lived through. Morrison gave them a few minutes, then gently intervened. "I'm sorry, but we need to get Staff Sergeant Collins positioned. The ceremony starts in 5 minutes. Mr. Chen wiped his eyes and held Maya at arm's length. "You make her proud today. You make all of them proud." "I'll try," Maya whispered. Morrison led Maya and Lily to the front of the parade ground where a reviewing stand had been erected. Chairs were set up for distinguished guests and a podium stood at the center with the American flag and the Navy flag flanking it. "Lily, you'll sit here," Morrison said, indicating the front row. "You'll have the best view." "Where will Mom be?" Lily asked. "Standing right there." Morrison pointed to a spot directly in front of the podium. The parade ground was filling rapidly now. Maya estimated 300 people, maybe more. Sailors and Marines in formation, officers and senior enlisted personnel seated by rank. Families scattered throughout. And there, entering from the far side of the parade ground, was Admiral Kovich, flanked by his staff. "Attention," someone called. 300 people snapped to attention, in perfect unison. The sound of that many boots hitting the ground simultaneously sent chills down Maya's spine. The Admiral strode to the reviewing stand with the confident bearing of a man who'd earned his position through decades of hard service. He was followed by a captain carrying a velvet case and a master chief carrying a folder. Morrison guided Maya to her position. "When the Admiral approaches you, stand at attention. Don't salute unless he salutes first. Just stay calm and let the ceremony happen. Understood?" Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. The Admiral took his place at the podium. The crowd settled into silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Kovich began, his voice carrying across the parade ground without need for amplification. "We are gathered here today to honor an American soldier whose actions in combat saved dozens of lives and exemplified the highest traditions of military service." He paused, letting his words sink in. On October 17, 2011, Staff Sergeant Maya Collins was serving as part of a cultural support team attached to a naval special warfare unit conducting operations in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Her team received intelligence about a compound where Taliban fighters were holding civilian hostages, including women and children for use as human shields. Maya's hands trembled at her sides as the Admiral continued, his words painting a picture of that terrible day. Staff Sergeant Collins and her team volunteered to go in first, to make contact with the civilians and assess the situation. What they found was worse than intelligence had indicated. 63 civilians, 42 of them children, were being held in conditions of extreme deprivation and were scheduled for execution as a propaganda tool. Lily's hand flew to her mouth in horror. Maya couldn't look at her. Staff Sergeant Collins made the decision to evacuate the civilians immediately, knowing it would compromise the team's position and draw enemy fire. And that is exactly what happened. Her team came under sustained attack from a numerically superior force while attempting to move 63 terrified civilians to safety. The Admiral's voice hardened. "Staff Sergeant Collins's team leader, Captain Sarah Chen, was killed in the initial contact. 2 other team members were critically wounded within the first 10 minutes. By every tactical standard, the mission should have been aborted. The civilians should have been left behind. The wounded should have been stabilized in place while awaiting extraction. He paused again, his eyes finding Maya in the crowd. Staff Sergeant Collins refused to leave anyone behind. She assumed command of the team, organized the civilians into protective positions, and personally carried 2 wounded teammates while directing defensive fire. For 3 hours, she held off an enemy assault force estimated at 40 to 50 fighters, using superior tactics and sheer force of will. Maya's vision blurred with tears. She remembered every second of those 3 hours. The screaming, the gunfire, the desperate radio calls, Sarah's blood on her hands. When extraction finally arrived, all 63 civilians were alive. All team members, living and dead, were accounted for. And Staff Sergeant Collins was still fighting, despite having been wounded twice herself. The Admiral stepped down from the podium and walked directly to Maya. "Staff Sergeant Maya Collins," he said formally, "for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against an enemy of the United States, for acts of heroism involving conflict with an opposing armed force, for leadership under fire, and for devotion to duty that saved the lives of 63 Afghan civilians, it is my honor to present you with the Silver Star." The captain opened the velvet case. The metal gleamed in the sunlight, a silver star suspended from a ribbon of red, white, and blue stripes. The Admiral took the medal and stepped close to Maya. "You earned this 3 years ago," he said quietly. "Just for her. I'm sorry it took us this long to make it right." He pinned the silver star to her uniform, directly over her heart. Then Admiral James Kovich, a man who commanded thousands of sailors and dozens of ships, who had served his country for 30 years, who answered to admirals and generals and senators. He stepped back and saluted her. A full, formal salute to a woman with no active rank. And then, one by one, every person on that parade ground came to attention and saluted. 300 military personnel, from the most junior sailors to senior officers with decades of service, all rendering honors to a woman who'd worked a cash register the day before. Maya's tears fell freely now. She returned the salute, her hand shaking but steady enough. The formation held for a long moment, a tableau of respect and recognition. Then the Admiral dropped his salute, and the rest followed suit. "Ladies and gentlemen," the Admiral announced, "Staff Sergeant Maya Collins." The applause was thunderous. Lily was sobbing in the front row, pride and grief and love all mixed together on her young face. The families of Maya's fallen teammates were weeping openly, holding each other, finding some measure of closure in this public acknowledgement of their loved one's sacrifice. And Maya stood there, the silver star pinned to her chest, feeling the weight of 3 years of silence finally lift. The Admiral wasn't finished. "Staff Sergeant Collins," he said, "there's one more thing." He nodded to the Master Chief, who stepped forward with the folder. "In recognition of your service and your unique qualifications, I am offering you a position as a consultant and instructor with the Naval Special Warfare Command. You would be training the next generation of cultural support teams, sharing your experience and expertise with those who will follow in your footsteps." Maya's eyes widened. "Sir, the position comes with appropriate compensation, flexible hours to accommodate your family obligations, and full benefits," the Admiral continued. "You would hold the civilian equivalent of your former rank and would be addressed and treated accordingly." He paused. "You've been invisible for too long, Staff Sergeant. It's time to come home." Maya looked at Lily, who was nodding frantically, tears streaming down her face. She looked at Mr. Chen, who smiled through his grief. She looked at the 300 people who had just honored her sacrifice. And she looked at the Admiral, this man who had taken the time to learn her story, to understand her worth, to give her back her identity. "Sir," Maya said, her voice steady now, "I would be honored." The Admiral extended his hand and Maya shook it firmly. "Welcome back, Staff Sergeant," he said. The applause erupted again, even louder than before. The ceremony concluded with a reception in the Officers' Club. Maya found herself surrounded by well-wishers, reporters asking for interviews and sailors who wanted to shake her hand. Lieutenant Morrison stayed close, running interference when needed, making sure Maya wasn't overwhelmed. But the most important moment came when Lily broke through the crowd and threw herself into her mother's arms. "Mom," she sobbed. "I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud." Maya held her daughter tight, the silver star pressing between them, a literal and metaphorical bridge between who she'd been and who she was becoming. "I'm proud of you too, baby," Maya whispered, "for being strong while I figured out how to be strong again." Mr. Chen approached with the other family members. "Maya, we wanted you to have something." He handed her a framed photograph. It was the same one from her duffel bag, the team photo from Afghanistan. But this one had been professionally restored and matted with a brass plate at the bottom. It read, "Cultural Support Team Delta, Operation Copper Valley. Heroes all." "Sarah would want you to have this where you can see it every day," Mr. Chen said. "To remember that you didn't fail them. You honored them." Maya's fingers traced Sarah's face in the photograph. Her best friend. Her sister in arms. "I'll put it in my new office," Maya said softly, "so they're with me when I teach the next generation." "That's perfect," Mr. Chen said. The afternoon sun was beginning to slant toward evening when Maya and Lily finally left the base. The silver star was secure in its case in Maya's bag, but the sense of recognition, of validation, of coming full circle, that stayed with her. As they drove home, Lily played with the program from the ceremony, reading and rereading the citation. "Mom," she said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you still miss them? Your team?" Maya considered the question carefully. "Every day. But now I can miss them with pride instead of guilt." "Does that make sense?" "Yeah," Lily said. "It does." They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lily asked, "When you start your new job, will you tell them about me?" Maya smiled. "All the time. You're my proudest accomplishment, Lily. More important than any medal or mission. Even the silver star?" "Even the silver star." Lily nodded, satisfied. As they pulled into their apartment complex, Maya noticed something different. The neighbor from across the hall, a retired Marine who'd always been polite but distant, was standing on his balcony. When he saw Maya, he came to attention and saluted. Word had spread fast. Maya returned the salute. Feeling a warmth spread through her chest, she was invisible no more. Epilogues, 6 months later. Maya stood in front of a classroom at the Naval Special Warfare Center, facing 20 female sailors who were training to join cultural support teams. She was wearing khakis and a polo shirt with the NS Dollars insignia, but the Silver Star medal was displayed in a shadow box on the wall behind her, alongside the photograph of her team. "My name is Maya Collins," she began, "and I'm going to teach you how to survive, how to lead, and how to honor those who came before you." The sailors listened with rapt attention. On her desk was a framed photo of Lily, who was thriving in 6th grade and telling everyone who would listen that her mom was a war hero, and in her heart was something she'd thought she'd lost. Forever purpose, peace, pride. She had been invisible. She had been forgotten. She had been dismissed as just another face behind a cash register, but she had never stopped being a warrior. And now finally, everyone knew it. The Admiral had saluted her first, but he wouldn't be the last.